Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to look at solving quadratic equations, and instead of looking at a specific method, complete the square, using the quadratic formula, or factoring, we're going to look at a few problems and decide what is the best method for these problems now that we have so many techniques. So let's go ahead and take a look. Right, so the first problem we're going to take a look at is 3x squared minus 4x equals 4. Now we can put this in the form so that we can use the quadratic equation, or we could also try the complete the square method. So let's take a look at both, and I'm going to go over each of them rather quickly so that you can have a good idea. And if you want to kind of go back and watch again to really understand why I'm using each method, that's totally a great idea, but I'm not going to take it slow so that we can get through a few of these kind of quickly. So for the complete the square method, our a has to be 1. So to do this, we have to divide everything by 3. And that's going to give us x squared minus 4/3 x is equal to 4/3. Now remember, our complete the square method, we take negative 4/3, our b, and we divide by 2. Well, that's the same as taking negative 4/3 and multiplying by 1/2. That's going to give us negative 4/6, which is the same as negative 2/3. We then square that, and that's going to give us 4/9. So using that, we're going to get x squared minus 4/3 x plus 4/9 is equal to 4/3 plus 4/9. Now remembering that we have x, and it's going to give us this term minus 2/3 squared, I'm going to equal to, well, 4/9 multiplied by 3, we get 12/9 plus 4/9, which is going to give us 16/9. Now we can take the square root of each side. Well, we remember when we take the square root, we have to do plus or minus, and that'll give us x minus 2/3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 16 is 4, the square root of 9 is 3, and finally that'll give us x is equal to 2/3 plus or minus 4/3, and we'll have our two responses. 2/3 plus 4/3 is going to give us 6/3, which is going to give us 2, and 2/3 minus 4/3 is going to give us negative 2/3, which obviously doesn't reduce. So these are our two answers, and this is our using the complete the square method. So what if we use our quadratic equation method? So we have 3x squared minus 4x equals 4. Algebraically, we put everything on one side. Minus 4x minus 4 is equal to 0. And remember that since we want it to be in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, we need to make these plus negative. So we have our a, b, and c. Our quadratic equation, our formula, is given by negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So taking our information here and putting that in, we have negative, our b is negative 4, plus or minus the square root of negative 4 squared is 16, minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 4, all over 2a, which is 2 times 3. So negative 4 is going to give us 4, plus or minus the square root of 16. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48, so it's minus negative 48, so that's plus 48 all over 6. And since 16 plus 48 is 64, and the square root of 64 is 8, we're going to get 4 plus 8 over 6, 4 minus 8 over 6. Well, 4 plus 8 is 12 over 6, that's 2. And 4 minus 8 is negative 4 over 6, which is negative 2/3. And now we can see that both methods gave us the exact same solutions, and so either method is okay. It just depends on which you're more comfortable with, which is easier for you, really just which method you prefer, which you think is quicker, whatever, however you just choose to do it, it's up to you. But know that either method is totally acceptable, and it will produce the same results. So let's go ahead and take a look at another one. Say we have 2x plus 7 squared is equal to 25. Now, because of just the form that this is in, if we want to use something like the quadratic formula, we'd have to FOIL this out first, and that can be time consuming. So I think that the best way to look at this is to go ahead and take the square root of both sides, remembering that we have to think of both the positive and negative, and that'll give us 2x plus 7 is equal to plus or minus 5. Subtracting 7 from both sides, we get 2x is equal to negative 7 plus or minus 5, and dividing by 2, we get x is equal to negative 7 plus or minus 5 over 2, which gives us our two answers, which is going to be negative 7 plus 5 over 2 and negative 7 minus 5 over 2. Negative 7 plus 5 is equal to negative 2 over 2, which will give us negative 1. Negative 7 minus 5 is going to give us negative 12 over 2, which is going to give us negative 6. So our answers here are negative 1 and negative 6. Now let's go ahead and look at if we chose to go ahead and FOIL it out. So we have 2x plus 7 squared is equal to 25. Well, FOILing out the 2x plus 7 squared, it's 2x plus 7 times 2x plus 7, we have 4x squared plus 14x plus 14x plus 49, and that'll give us 4x squared plus 28x plus 49. So putting that in over here, we have 4x squared plus 28x plus 49 is equal to 25. Now we want it to be in the form, which means the correct form, which means we need it to be equal to 0, so we're going to subtract 25 from each side, and that'll give us 4x squared plus 28x plus 24 is equal to 0. Now if we were to use the quadratic equation at this point, our b is 28. Well, when we have to square that, we have b squared. So that's going to give us a huge number. It's not going to be easy to work with, so we probably don't want to do that. But if we do look at all of our coefficients, they are all multiples of 4. So we can take a 4 out using the reverse of the distributive property, and that'll give us x squared plus 4 times 7 is 28 plus 6 is equal to 0. Now, by the zero product property, that means 4 is 0, or x squared plus 7x plus 6 is 0. Obviously, 4 is not 0, or you can divide both sides by 4. Either way, you come up with x squared plus 7x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now, this starts to look like something that might be able to be factored, and that looks like our factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Well, 2 plus 3 is going to give us 5. 1 plus 6 is going to be 7, so we know we're going to want a 1 and a 6. X times x is x squared. 6x plus 1x is 7x plus 6 equals 0. So we see that this is correct, and this gives us x plus 1 equals 0 by that zero product property, and x plus 6 equals 0. Solving for x, we have x is negative 1 and x is negative 6. So as you can see, if we take a look up here, negative 1 and negative 6 is what we got using the other method, and it is also what we got using this method. So either way is totally acceptable. You could also, once you get to this point here, you could also then plug that into the quadratic equation, the quadratic formula, to solve. So that's a third option to do. Again, whatever you like, whatever is easiest to you, whatever is most familiar to you, They're all acceptable. Solutions are solutions. That's the great thing about math is once you get to the answer, it's the answer. If it's -1 and -6, that's the answer. So the method in which you use to solve, as long as it is a valid method, it doesn't matter. Whatever is most comfortable to you, is as long as, like I said, it's a valid method, then you are free to use it, unless instructed otherwise. So whichever one you like best, go for it. We're going to go over one last problem like this and then a challenge problem. So let's look at 1 over x plus 1 over x plus 3 equals 1 over 4. So when we're looking at a lot of these, really it's just going to come down to your algebra practice. So combine these fractions and put it in a form that is easier for us to understand. So we're going to multiply by x plus 3 over x plus 3, so that's 1, and we're going to multiply this one times x over x. That's going to give us x plus 3 over x times x plus 3 plus x over x times x plus 3 is equal to 1/4. Okay, now we can combine these. Well, x plus x is 2x, so we get 2x plus 3 over, we're going to factor that out, it's going to be x squared plus 3x is equal to 1/4. We're going to multiply both sides by x squared plus 3x, and that's going to give us 2x plus 3 is equal to x squared plus 3x over 4, and then we're going to multiply both sides by 4. That's going to give us 4 times 2 is 8x, 4 times 3 is 12, is equal to x squared plus 3x. So now we're going to subtract 8x from both sides, and we're going to get 12 is equal to x squared. Well, 3x minus 8x is going to give us a negative 5x. And then we're going to subtract 12 from both sides. We're going to get 0 is equal to x squared minus 5x minus 12. So now the first thing we want to look at is, can this be factored? So let's look at the factors of 12. We have 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, 4. Now, none of these sum to 5, so it doesn't look like factoring is going to be an easy way to solve this. But we can use our quadratic equation, and so we have negative b, which is negative 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 25, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 12, all over 2a. And our a is 1, so that's 2 times 1. This is going to give us 5 plus or minus the square root of 25. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 12 is 48. Minus negative 48 is going to be plus 48 over 2. This is going to give us somewhat of a complicated plus or minus the square root of 73 over 2. So we get 5 plus root 73 over 2 and 5 minus root 73 over 2. Now this one can be kind of a pain to check, so if you would like to go ahead and work it out to make sure, you can check it either with the original equation or you can check it with the augmented equation that we made. So as you can see, solving quadratic equations can be done using a ton of different methods, and not one method is totally right. It's up to you which one you're most comfortable with, which one you like the most, or which one just seems easiest for the given problem. I'm going to do one more video on this topic doing a super challenge problem, and then we're going to move on into functions, equations, and things like that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and thanks again for watching.